Managing finances can feel complicated and time-consuming, right? But it doesn't have to be. Rocket Money simplifies everything, making it so easy to see exactly what's happening with your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users who have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/juicy. That's rocketmoney.com/juicy.
Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop, whoop. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. You guys, I'm getting excited. After I record this, I've got to go pack, get on a plane, because I'm coming to see you at the Parks Casino in Philadelphia. That show is there are still some tickets available. However, it is selling really, really well. I've got the hilarious Tammy Pascatelli. I want you guys to know, with all the shows coming up, I often hear, can I bring my husband? Can I bring my friend? She doesn't know about Housewives. She doesn't follow pop culture. She doesn't know who you are, Heather. Yes, you can. These shows are top tier stand-up from my openers like Chris Frangiola as well as Tammy. It is funny. You do not need to know about Housewives. I do make some fun references and stuff, but I set up in a way that your person that you're with will absolutely love it. A reminder, it is not political. You do not need to worry about bringing somebody who will somehow be offended because of the jokes don't align with their point of view. This is an escape. This is hardcore funny. This is relatable stand-up about my life, stories I've saved just for live shows. The Tammy and Chris are hilarious. It is a really funny show that I'm telling you. You will be so happy you went. You will get an ab workout. And I just wanted to make that very clear. So we got October 4th at the Parks Casino in Philly. And then I meet with Chris in Ridgefield, Connecticut, a beautiful theater there at the Ridgefield Playhouse. That's October 5th with Chris Frangiola. And then Chris and I head over to Boston at the world famous Wilbur Theater. That show is at 7 p.m. because it's a Sunday. I want you guys to be able to get the show in and still have a good night's sleep. That's 7 p.m. with Chris on Sunday at the Wilbur Theater. The meet and greets are all an hour before the show. Give yourself a little extra time if you're part of the meet and greet. So there you go. I hope that answers all the questions, and I hope to see you. And then, of course, there's more dates coming up. So go to heathermcdonald.net for everything. And also, of course, my Patreon. I'm going to be covering the Menendez brothers and that documentary with my sister Shannon for Juicy Crimes. I have a Get Me Behind Gates about really what my life has been going on lately. And then, of course, every Friday is the inside kind of behind the scenes of doing this show. And that's everything is at heathermcdonald.net. Okay, before we get to our really juicy interview, which you will love, I want to give you, sadly, the worst updates ever because PDiddy is truly a monster, okay? Really, it doesn't stop. An attorney, I guess, put out a thing. Come to me if you're a victim of PDiddy. He's from Texas. I talked about him on the last episode that he had a class action lawsuit with 50 people. It has now gone up to 125. He did a press conference in which two of the victims, alleged victims, are being highlighted in articles and whatnot that are the more disturbing ones. One is a 9-year-old boy that was promised an audition and an opportunity to have a record deal. And he is claiming he was separated from his parents and alone with Diddy, in which he was sexually assaulted. And then there was another woman who wasn't even drinking because she was pregnant and then, was drugged and found herself in P. Diddy's bed afterwards and was assaulted. They're just horrific stories. Now, some people would question, how in a week could you actually get 150 people that you could validate their stories? I mean, we know what goes into building a case for somebody. Were you there? Did you come home and tell somebody? We need to talk to your roommate from 2006. Of these 150, I don't know how many lawyers this guy has working for him, how they're going to do this, but it's just never ending. And then, of course, as I said before, all the old clips. I just saw a clip that New York Post featured from a very popular BBC show. Maybe it was 5 years ago or something. It's PDiddy, and he's saying that, yes, at one time he did invite the royal princes, William and Harry, to come to his parties, but he won't be inviting them anymore now that they're, married and getting married. Also, Page 6 is reporting that now people are coming forward saying, yes, I went to P. Diddy parties, but everybody knew you wanted to leave. There was 3 parties. That's what I heard. There's 3 parties. 1, you leave before 2. Okay. That's if you just want a past app and a couple cute photos and a free glass of Ciroc. Okay. You got to get out before 2. 2 to 5, some freaky stuff happens, maybe some more clothes come off, maybe some drug use, maybe some freaky sex stuff that, you're down for. It's the parties, and then you got to leave at 5. It's the parties from 5 on that people are saying, I never was there. And that's where maybe, non-consensual, awful things happened to people that might have been not of age or not willing participants, or might have been hired as sex workers. So there you go. It's awful. Our girl Wendy Williams has done an interview with Daily Mail, and TMZ is reporting on it as well. And it sounds like she's doing much better. She knows what's going on with P. Diddy. She is saying that she's hearing from people that she had called it back from her radio days before she even had her TV show. That's what people loved about Wendy. She really didn't care. She dropped a lot of truth, and it wasn't in riddles. And, she's horrified by what she's hearing about the victims and the things that she's being made aware of. So anyway, hopefully she is doing better, and she has spoken about that. A little update in the Bravo world. Brandi Glanville of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was suing Bravo, and because Andy, remember this story that she felt that Andy spoke to her inappropriately as a boss. Many people felt it was in a joking manner, that they had that kind of rapport, and that he and Kate Chastain were joking on the phone. She said, no, I always felt like there were inappropriate things that were said to me. I was used. This whole thing with Caroline Manzo happened, which I don't agree with. I never assaulted her, and therefore we have never seen the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip in Morocco. She posted or tweeted on X that, in fact, the lawsuit has been dropped, not because she wanted it to, because her attorneys said, we're no longer representing you. We don't feel this lawsuit has legs. So she wrote, you can't write this shit. I can't believe it. I was told I was going to, cash out and make so much money from this thing. And now, after all this time and effort, they've decided, it's not worth their time, which happens. They're going to grab 40% of a lawsuit against a big corporation. They got to make sure that they have enough to win it. Otherwise, it's not worth their time, because she's not paying them. They're doing it, in the hopes that they all get, that she, gets a win of whatever, $10 million, and they get $4 million of it. So if they feel like it's not going to happen, there's not the evidence, there's not whatever. And I don't know that anyone else will take on her lawsuit. So now I really feel like she is triply screwed, because she felt like she was never going to be hired again, because she was used and thrown out after the Caroline Manzo thing. So she goes the legal route and was like, whatever, let me get my money so I can live somewhere and just not have to do these shows where I have to get drunk and grab people that don't want to be grabbed, or whatever, or show my tits, or say awful things to people, because that's what I get paid to do. Now that's seemed to be dead. So It's not been a great day for her, but I wanted to give you that update. Okay, you guys, remember what I said? You go to heathermcdonald.net for all the dates. I'm coming to Chicago, Minneapolis in October, then Irvine, California in November, and then in February, I will be in New York, D.C., and Newark, New Jersey. Everything is at heathermcdonald.net. All right, get ready for a real fun, juicy interview. Hello, and welcome to Juicy Scoop. You guys love the Inside Hollywood Scoop, and I've got the guest to spill it from the hit 4-part series on Hulu right now, Baywatch, Moment in the Sun. It's so juicy. It's 4 parts. I have the director, the producer, you're also appearing in it, Matt Felker, with the star of Baywatch. He played the son of David Hasselhoff, Jeremy Jackson. You're throughout the entire 4-part series as well.
Associate producer, executive producer.
You got an associate producer.
Associate producer.
Oh, you're a
too.
producer as well.
credit.
Yeah, I saw that.
He produced some shit. He did some shit.
And I saw that Nicole Eggert, who came on Juicy Scoop as well, that she was on Charles in Charge. And then, of course, Baywatch. And she's a great woman. She was also got a producing credit, I saw.
Yeah, I didn't really know any of these guys when I started, and I was just looking for something to direct, and I knew that no one was going to let me direct shit unless I paid for it. So I was looking for something relatively commercial, and a buddy of mine saw me interact with Nicole on Instagram, and he's like, how do you know Nicole Eggert? Like, he's like 48, like huge Charles in Charge kind of fan. I'm like, I don't know. I've like kind of known her for like 20 years. Not well, but I know her enough that I can call her.
Yeah.
He goes, dude, like, you were a lifeguard. You should do a Baywatch documentary. And I was like, and my friend was kind of an idiot, and I wasn't really paying attention. And I'm like, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Well, in watching it, we see you're giving, narration, telling story. And it looks like this did take quite a long span of years to put together, because some of the people that are interviewed, you being one, at one point, I see you again, and I'm like, wait a minute, were there two guys that played?
Yeah.
You know how sitcoms sometimes would like replace a kid with another kid?
Not tell you.
I was one. I was a replacement.
So I was like, wait a minute, but your look was changing because it was a long span. So can you tell us a little bit like what your background is and how you got this project like going and off the ground?
Well, I've sort of kind of done it all. I mean, I moved to LA, and you kind of just get put in a box, and I was a male model, as embarrassing as that is. Early on.
You came to LA from where?
Wisconsin.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and my first job, I was a soccer player, so Nike was looking for someone to do like their endorsements, and they couldn't pay.
And you could actually play soccer.
Yeah, I was a high level soccer player. And,
okay.
And they, I think Adidas had David Beckham at the time, and Nike couldn't afford anybody, so they're like, you look okay, like let's have you. So that was like my first job, and then I became friends with the casting director in music videos, and then he put me in like the Britney Spears video, and then Stacy's Mom, and all those like early 2000s sort of hit songs. I was in all those videos, and that was sort of my
music video hoe.
Yeah. That was sort of my coming to LA, and then I did that pilot with Chelsea Handler. I didn't really like acting.
Okay.
I always sort of got thrown into it. I wrote a script when I was 24 that I sold to Penelope Spheris, who did Wayne's World and Black Sheep.
I know Penelope.
So I started a production company with her. We did a male stripper comedy, which I would say is probably the reason Magic Mike existed, because I did it with Jenna Dewan, and Channing came to our set every day, and he's like, whoa, I was a stripper, and then he went to all the big dogs, and then had
that's
so wait, slow down.
Scoop right there.
Okay.
I think we're like the precursor to Magic Mike. We definitely had some inspiration because our sets look the same too, which is pretty funny.
Do you keep in touch with Penelope?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She knew my brother very well.
Yeah.
Anyway, Penelope, so you guys were doing that, filming it or doing like a reel of it, or what? How was the idea sort of taken before it was released?
We were financed through the Goris Group with Alec Goris and Paradigm. He owns Paradigm, so they were doing our packaging. And Jenna Dewan was the female lead, who Channing was married to at the time. And Channing would always come. He came to set like 4 times. Like, no one does that, especially when he's like a big star, and this is like sort of a lower budget movie.
Right.
But we had really good actors. We had Mimi Rogers, Chris McDonald, Shooter McGavin. He's that, and a couple other. Dustin Ybarra was in it, stand-up comic.
Yeah.
Brad, the midget's the wrong term because I know that's not sensitive. Smaller person, Brad. He's a stand-up.
Oh, yes, Brad. Yes, he's on my
He's
show
in it.
too. Yeah.
I do a dance with him in a cowboy outfit with my ass hanging out. With me and Brad do it together. So it was a full-on comedy.
So you wrote it and you appeared in it.
I
and it was
executive produced it, and I was the bad guy stripper.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway, so yeah, Channing.
Can we do that ass shaking scene?
Yeah.
You can probably get it. It's on YouTube. But we had Channing come to set a bunch of times, and he befriended the son of the financier, and he got that guy to finance a different project for him.
Which was?
I think it was Dear John he got him to pay for.
Okay.
But then shortly thereafter, there was a trade release that Magic Mike, and it was this, male stripper thing with Matthew McConaughey. And, it was like we had the B team, and then he's like, fuck it, I was a stripper, and I have access to the A team, so he just took it. I mean, you can't be mad at him.
And so then did you guys finish the movie?
Yeah, it's got dumped on fucking Amazon, the territories. It was like pre-stream.
What's the name of it?
Balls to the Wall.
Oh, my gosh.
And I own that movie, too, so go watch it, because I still make $5 a month on it. So.
Oh, my gosh, amazing.
Yeah.
Managing finances can feel complicated and time-consuming, right? But it doesn't have to be. Rocket Money simplifies everything, making it so easy to see exactly what's happening with your finances, track your spending, and give you full control of it all right from your phone. Rocket Money can alert you to an increase in subscription price. A lot of us have lots of subscriptions, and suddenly you never knew that the price went up. Well, that is what's so great about Rocket Money and being able to really get hold of your finances and not let things get out of control. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users who have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's features. I find this so helpful. The Rocket Money app shows you exactly where you're spending it and what you may not need anymore. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/juicy. That's rocketmoney.com/juicy. rocketmoney.com/juicy. Well, on Juicy Scoop, we talk a lot about J-Lo, but I've oftentimes talked about how her skin is just the most glowy, perfect thing. I can't even get enough. She's 55. I've seen that skin in person. So now I, too, am using the J-Lo Beauty. Get that J-Lo glow for yourself with J-Lo's Beauty Deluxe Kit, the one-and-done skincare solution clinically proven to tighten and lift for instant, long-lasting results. My skincare routine is centered around that blockbuster hydrating cream. My skin is so much more plump and dewy, instantly makes my skin feel smoother, and then I wake up and it's like brighter looking in the morning. And I see why 100% of the people from an 8-week clinical study who tried it had smoother skin as a result. I mean, you look at my face right now, I'm glowing, people. Want that JLo glow? Head to jlobeauty.com/juicyscoop and get a special gift of 4 free masks for listeners of Juicy Scoop. Head to jlobeauty.com/juicyscoop for 4 free masks and free shipping today. jlobeauty.com/juicyscoop. I just went to Thunder Down Under this weekend in Las Vegas.
I saw the pictures.
I actually got an offer from Thunder Down Under.
Oh, you did?
A few years ago.
Great.
Yeah. I did some fitness pictures. I happened to be, having no clothes on.
It was a giant dick. So
from
great.
behind. No, it was from behind. I was like standing up, like it was actually great.
Yeah.
And TMZ picked it up, and somebody said, "Hey, I work for Thunder from Down Under. We'd love to have him on." So then I
to do like a special guest.
Yeah. So I talked to him a little bit and got a little cash offer, and then I had a manager call Chippendales and see if they wanted to steal me instead. They said absolutely. They hired me for the 3-week like celebrity little deal. I went out there to Vegas, met everybody. We did a big TMZ kind of press release deal, but they agreed to a price that was like $150,000 for 3 weeks. And then we made an offer to somebody, I forget what network, to do like a reality show because I had just gotten married. So I'm married to a stripper, but it was really just my little guest appearance.
Yeah.
They loved it. They were like really into it. They were going to come film. But I had just gotten off this set of Celebrity Rehab.
Oh.
And
what year was this?
This was 2010, 12.
Okay.
Something 12-ish, yeah. and somebody died at the property of a drug overdose. And even though I wasn't doing drugs on Celebrity Rehab, just the fact that I was on Celebrity Rehab
The
going out there.
yeah.
They
No insurance for you.
Killed the deal. It was like 300.
No bonding for you.
Yeah.
So you start to really, you first start, it starts out how they got the idea, which was great. How they were just like smoked a joint and walked down the beach and saw lifeguards and was like, there's a whole story here.
Right.
Which is like, even when I was getting back to stripping, when I was at the Thunder Down
Back to
Under,
stripping.
I was like,
back to stripping.
oh, and I started to think, I wonder who these guys date, like who's their mother, like what, do they have something else cooking on the
Right.
side? And then I was like, oh, I totally see why this was made into a movie. Like I get when because you start to kind of wonder, what is this
The backstory of
profession
these
about?
people. Yeah.
So I loved hearing that. And then we get to see, you know, how at first it was a movie, and then from the success of the 2-hour movie is when it became the series that we kind of know. And so let's talk a little bit about you.
Sure.
So, you know, your mom left your dad when you were only 3 months old. So it was just the two of you, or did you have siblings?
I had a sister when I was about 6, but
Oh, okay.
I had already. That's about when I started acting. So she had a newborn and she had me, and we're in Orange County. She's literally driving a Volkswagen Bug that catches on fire, driving to LA.
Oh my God.
To go to auditions and stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah. And so so you started to get a couple little things. And did you love it up until you got, I mean, you loved Baywatch too, but like, was anything going on like with the jobs leading up to Baywatch?
Yeah, it was like a whirlwind. So I was a super ham, like just anywhere and everywhere. Mom would take me to karaoke bars. I'm like 3 years old singing. Disneyland. I think I'm a breakdancer. I think I'm a ballerina. I think I can do every accent. I'm imitating Michael Jackson. I got Elvis Presley down pat. It was just who I was, you know?
Right.
So between the ages of 6 and 10, I had already done 60 commercials.
Wow.
Like 13.
So now when you're doing 60 commercials, and commercials meant a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
So was that basically then your mom's job being the manager, and that was helping
Totally.
take care of the household?
Yeah. My manager, my acting coach, my friend, I'm dyslexic. I couldn't read. She had to read everything to me, and I'd have to repeat it back to her. So it was like mano a mano, me and her against the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mary Grady was my agent.
Oh, okay.
Lonnie O'Grady was her daughter from 8 is Enough.
Oh, okay.
Right. So and I remember your agent's
Iris
name.
Burton, yeah.
Yeah. Those were like the two big dogs back then.
Right.
Yeah.
And was there ever any concern, you know, now we hear so much about, you know, child actors and the safety of child actors, from the Nickelodeon doc to, you know, Michael Jackson, Neverland, Leaving Neverland. Was there any concern or anything about you being on set if your mom couldn't be right there?
Yeah. Well, so me and my mom were super tight. We're like Orange County folk, you know?
Yeah.
We don't know a lot of people in the industry. We're like outsiders that managed to like explode our way in. We were kind of hated because I would get a lot of jobs over other kids.
Mm-hmm.
So there'd be the moms with their kids that were always in acting class, and they got their flippers, their fake teeth, and they got their outfits.
Just to tell people, like, what is a flipper? When the kids lose their teeth because they're like becoming 7, they put these flippers. You see that I'm on like Toddlers and Tiaras, but they're just like a little retainer, so then they have like the cute little chiclet teeth still.
So there was like the Hollywood kids that lived at the Oakwoods, and this was like their full-time job, and this was like just a thing we came in kind of guerrilla and stole from those people. You know?
Right.
They didn't like us. So we weren't really in the inner sanctum, so to speak, shooting with the right photographers, going to the right places, making the right friends. So somehow we managed to escape that. However, you know, the other day, just a couple days ago, I was like, you know what, dude? All the podcasters, all the interviewers, all the people, they want to know about the dark side of being a child star. Everybody wants to hear about some spirit soup, Illuminati, Jesus juice type, Michael fingered me. I'm like, you know what? I might as well just start. I mean, I guarantee you, if I were to tell you, oh yeah, I would have a full big old run. I would have a huge run. I could just make up a story.
Michael fingered me?
I could just say David Hasselhoff, kissed my wiener. I could make up a story because everybody already believes it, and I would go on a run of press and money and appearances. These people are probably lying a lot.
Interesting.
I probably
do you think
a
there's
lot.
anything that happened?
Ton of
like,
it.
No, I'm saying like even on Baywatch, I think like people wanted all this like dark shit,
Salacious
dude,
and it
stuff.
really didn't happen.
I mean, the weirdest thing, I went through the producer's trunks. Like, I was a very, rambunctious kid. So
Yeah.
I'd like to rifle through everybody's everything for some
Yeah.
reason. And I found there was literally a box this big of sheepskin condoms. And I was like, God, who's having sex this much? Doug Schwartz trunk. I'm like, man, he must really be getting it on if he's got a giant box. But for all I know, it was a sponsor that sent it to him for free.
Yeah, probably was.
Right.
Probably was a sponsor.
Yeah, I'm going through, the girls' trailers, and their Playboys are in there. So they're working, and I'm looking at them naked, and then I get to see them 10 minutes later and be like, I've seen you naked. But it wasn't a bunch of dark, weird stuff at all,
Well, yeah. I mean,
there was a photographer who took a picture of me in a pool. I was at a kid's event with like Punky Brewster and all these kinds of celebs. And all the moms were nudging my mom, hey, you got to shoot with this guy. If he invites you somewhere, go with him. You'll get a lot of jobs. He took one picture of me in the history of my career, and like 20 years later was arrested as being a really big part of a child pedophile ring and
wow.
Pornography, underage
And did
pornography.
he want to have a session with you?
Yes, and we didn't go. My mom said she got a weird feeling about it. She just didn't
Amazing.
Want to do it. Yeah.
That's why I interviewed
Full, like,
his,
mother
his,
instinct.
His
Yeah.
mom has never done an interview before, and I got to know her. I mean,
She's
I got to know
so
everybody.
beautiful too.
And yeah, she was real concerned about her looks going on camera.
Oh, what?
She
She's
was
so pretty.
hesitant of going on camera.
Yeah.
So we're both wounded from growing up on Baywatch. All those beautiful women.
They're
She's
totally
like,
fucked up.
she is gorgeous.
But yeah, that's the first interview she's ever done. And I thought it was really interesting because I feel like when you have like a story like Jeremy's where he's been through a lot, it's always like, oh, fucking parents. The parents have to be horrible.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with your mom? Your mom was, and I'm like, your mom was an awesome mom. You were just a crazy fucking kid.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if you were a TV star or not. He was going to be a crazy fucking kid.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. People always want, was it? Yeah, dude.
For people that don't know, you had a drug addiction.
Yeah.
That happened while you were still filming.
Yeah.
As
But it
an
was at the very
18-year-old.
end. It was right at the very
Yeah.
end.
Towards the end.
Towards the end.
Okay, but sorry, continue.
I mean, it got heavy towards the end. But
Yeah.
another people want to, did you were exposed. You must have been exposed to something. Yeah, I could be like, yeah, the producers were mean to me, so I had to do drugs to cope with my feelings. Or, yeah, I saw Tommy Lee and he had some coke, so I wanted to do coke. Like, I could easily say something like that. No way, dude. Being a celebrity making, millions of dollars by that time I was 16 probably saved my life. I would have been running around broke with criminals doing the stuff that I did. I just had enough money to pay for lawyers and pay for really good rehabs, pay for therapy, and have people want to help patch me together because I was their bread and butter. If I didn't have agents, managers, and publicists, all these people that were making money off me, I wouldn't have continued to be patted and lifted and helped and mentored and
Celebrity actually helped
supported. It probably saved my life.
That is really interesting because also it's shared that your biological father, he struggled with a drug addiction. And sadly that happens whether you're raised in the home
your
with them or
genes,
not.
man.
There is something. Some people say it's not. I feel like there is something that makes you more susceptible.
I can explain it to you sometime if you want. Really? You
Yeah,
sure?
tell me what you
So
think.
there exists this thing called the warrior gene. Scientific community, geneticists, and researchers call it the warrior gene. They breed it into mice. They put 1,000 mice in a cage, and lots of mice will gravitate in the cage. There'll be vodka, there'll be toys, there'll be food, and there'll be shelter. Lots of the mice try the vodka. Lots of them get drunk, but most of them get distracted, find a friend, get hungry or tired. But about 10% of those 1,000 will stay at the vodka and drink until they die. So they take those 10% and they breed them. And now since mom and dad had this thing that makes them drink until they die, has this thing that makes them forget about food, water, shelter, friends, offspring is more likely to have it. And they continue to do this. Grab all the babies before they kill themselves, 50%. Grab all the babies before they kill themselves, 80%. Grab all the babies, 100%. Now you got 100%. All offspring from mom and dad, they bred out the normie gene, right? Once they've tried vodka, that's all they want to do. That's all they care about. And they'll kill themselves. Just like I did. I had millions of dollars. I had all that good stuff. I had all these opportunities. A Walk to Remember with Mandy Moore was written for me. That movie was written for me before the pen went to paper. The writer said, Jeremy Jackson is going to star in this. $1 million at whatever I was, 16, nah.
You blew it off.
Yeah, I was too busy getting high.
And what was like the first time that you started to use?
I mean, I was smoking weed and drinking 12. You know?
And where would you get it? And how would that work between being on settle day? Because obviously you had like a set teacher, right? Did you go to any regular school once you were cast in
I
this?
was too busy by third grade that my teachers were already really mad because I was missing so much at third grade. But I was like gifted, learning disabled, hyperactive. I was a hands-on learner, experiential learner. I was terrible in school.
In a classroom, yeah.
So that was great actually for me. So I did homeschool and just started working so much that I really couldn't go to school.
I remember I got one commercial and I left. They picked me up from the school and I was doing the commercial and I had the on-set teacher. And so we had all the little work that like my mom got and was like, here's her work for the day. And finished it in an hour and a half. And one of the things was teaching me to read a clock, okay? And we'd been working on that at school for so long. And I understood it within 10 minutes of being with the set teacher.
Totally.
And that's why I'm like, hey, if homeschool is the way to go, don't let people tell you that
You can't do it.
That's for weird religious people, whatever. Do what's right for your kid, because I truly believe a one-on-one situation, it's like you don't need to be there for 8 hours if you have like a private tutor or you're doing homeschool or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was great for me, and it's feast or famine, right? So
Yeah.
you're either really, really busy or you don't have anything to do. So when it was, I don't have anything to do time, it was go. And 12 years old, 13, 14, 15, all kids are getting into some form of trouble. Someone's smoking weed. They know somebody's older brother has weed in their room. You go to their house and you smell it. They're 16. They look cool. And you're like, oh, they're doing something cool. What's that smell? And then you want to try it. You want to do it. From cigarettes to whatever,
So for a while, those teen years, you were able to party, get back into the straight.
Yep.
And then when did you kind of go off the deep end?
I got pretty deep into coke. I was already going to rehab at like 16, but Playboy Mansion parties and coke and
so you're going to Playboy
hours.
Mansion parties at 16 because all the girls were on. I thought that was also really interesting. That I can't remember the actress that said it, and she said Playboy was like if a celebrity did a Playboy spread.
Erica says
If a celebrity did a Playboy shoot, midway through their career and they're already a celebrity,
would kill it.
that was steak tartare.
Yeah.
But if you just did a June issue as like some chick that came from Oklahoma, then that was just gross raw meat or dirty, and
raw nasty meat, I think.
Yeah, that was like such an interesting analogy. And then how they were like, well, listen, this is where we need to hire the people for Baywatch is just go straight to the Playboy Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And it did become such a cool thing in the 90s.
Yep.
All the Playboy stuff, who the girls were, who got the month,
Playboy was a real thing in the 90s. I think the newer generation kind of forgets what it actually was because porn is just everywhere.
Right.
So it doesn't mean anything, Playboy is so tame compared to what you can see online.
Right.
So.
And I think that's why, she got the Playboy thing. And we were seeing that it was leading to other things, Pamela being one, Jenny McCarthy, Carmen Electra. Yeah, that was really interesting. So when you're reaching out to the other people, now when we see Pamela Anderson doing an interview, was that with you or were you able to grab interviews from something else?
Pamela's interesting. Initially, she was receptive, early on. And at the time, I didn't think she was going to be hard to get at all. Because at that time, that was pre-Pam and Tommy show on Hulu that created a whole resurgence, which created a rebuttal to her documentary. And then, she's off doing what she's doing. By the time we got to her, the pandemic had started. Mm-hmm. She was living in Canada. So I didn't want to film her remote. I just didn't think you'd get the right interview with her. And I felt she deserved more than that. She deserved a face-to-face type thing. So we kind of put a pin in it. And then the Pam and Tommy thing came out for Hulu. And I think she was really enraged at first. I mean, I think in retrospect, she should thank him because, Megan Ellison probably took a $2 million loss to resurge your career and make you, empathetic to the audience type thing. But she really hated that. And she had all these statements like, I don't even know who Lily James is. And I don't know who Sebastian. I mean, they're the two very solid actors of this generation. I mean, you may not know who they are, but they're very good at what they And it's, it's Seth Rogen and Megan Ellison, fucking billionaire, wins Academy Awards. I mean, she put fuck you money into that thing. And I mean, I listened to their soundtrack, and just from licensing music, they had a 7-figure soundtrack per episode. I mean, she did not make money on that at all. Like,
well, I thought it was great. I thought I knew the story, and I thought it was great how it was shared, and I thought they were both great. But I was watching it with my teenage sons, and by like the 4th episode, they were like, "Oh my God, who cares that there's a?"
It's too long. It's way too long.
But also from their perspective, they were
means nothing.
They were like, "Why is she so upset?"
Yeah.
Like, who cares that people saw them have sex? Like, to them, it's a different
generational
world.
different.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a total
their
different
friends
world.
are on OnlyFans,
And
so
also,
it's like totally different.
No sex, like no slut shaming or anything with guys. They don't see it like that. They're like, so what? So that was her husband, and like, who cares?
Yeah,
and,
but she reacted violently.
Right,
to
and
it.
I'm trying to explain that, like, no, she felt it was really gonna hurt her career, and and things. That's what's so interesting is how the perspective of something changes.
Psychography.
It's just like when the Kardashians started too. It was like, I was at a party in which the Kardashians were there. It was a party for Jillian Barberie from the morning show, like celebrating her wedding or something, and they were hosting it. And Kim was attempting to be like a red carpet girl, like that's what she was working on, and her publicist was like kind of helping. And so they had, because Jill was a celebrity, they had like In Touch and maybe like E there at the house. And the girl goes to it. I'm not going to say who the celebrity is, but she goes to the celebrity and she goes, "Oh, before you leave, could you please, could Kim interview you really quickly?" And this is a post sex tape.
Yeah.
But recent. And she was like, "No. I don't do interviews with porn stars."
Yeah.
And she left. And I remember thinking, my perspective was, this is the daughter of the woman who hosted the thing. Why aren't you just helping a daughter, work on her craft? Like, that was just kind of rude. I just thought it was I thought that's what I thought. I didn't think, oh, you're being too high and mighty for that. But so for a while, it was nobody wanted to fuck with them. That was, Kardashian. And then all of a sudden.
And then Anna Wintour gave them Fashion Week passes and the Met Gala, and it was game over.
All of a sudden, everybody, knows that they are powerful and that's who you want to be friends with. But how quickly.
Well, that's
what
I was
just jealous because that person is getting more attention than you get for your craft career that you put so much time and effort into.
Back to how Pam, to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So that came out. She closed all doors. We're not doing anything. Then I got a call from my contact at ABC News Studios, who we ended up doing the deal with, but didn't have a deal at that point. They're like, we just got this Pamela Anderson documentary sent to us. They want an absorbent amount of money. Her kid is her manager now. He asked for all this money, and we're like,
that's the
no.
one that they film.
It's the one that went to Netflix. The one
that they filmed mostly at the home in Canada.
Right. They filmed 2 days. People are like, oh, this documentary's so great. I'm like, the story's great. They filmed that for $9. It was literally filmed in 2 fucking days. So from a producer standpoint, I'm not super blown away, but I understand the value of it. But anyway, so she did that. And I'm like, fuck, I would have liked to got that story for my thing. But I get it. She's making some money from Netflix. She's going to monetize her story, and that's great. So we circled back to her, trying to do a follow-up, and her son manages her. I don't know if he still does because she just signed with CAA, and I don't think they would maybe work with him. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't, but I can't see that working out very well. Anyways, they were initially receptive, and their first comment was, how much? How much? We're like, nothing. This is, it's an ensemble cast. We have 38 people. It's literally everyone that's ever been on the show. It's a big thing for Pam. You can run your story. You can, really will let you craft your image. No, hard no. That's what her son said. Hard no, right? And I called him and I go, hey, Brandon, this is Matt. And he didn't even let me talk. He just hung up on me. And I'm like, wow, that's good managing. That's great managing. I'm like, that's going to work well. So I was like, whatever. So Muriel Pearson, who's an 11-time Emmy-winning producer for ABC News Studios, She goes, do you remember that 2020 that you were a panelist for us during the pandemic? And that's how I met them. I did a free panelist on pop culture for them, shot it myself, sent them a hard drive, and that's how I created this relationship with the people that ended up buying it. She's like, yeah, I interviewed Pam for that. And it's the same time you interviewed Pam or you interviewed all the other actors.
Yeah.
Let's go through the transcripts because we never even put it in the 2020 because at that time, Pam's value was nothing because it was pre-Pam and Tommy.
Oh.
So they tried to like...
Pam and Tommy the movie.
And then pre-Pam and her rebuttal with her Netflix thing. So this is like only a year prior, zero value. Mm-hmm. Zero value. And then now she's here trying to negotiate for money. So we just said, oh, thanks, but no thanks, Brandon. And not only did I go through the transcripts, it's all the stuff I would have asked her anyways.
Right.
And we owned it in all perpetuity. So not only did they try to tell us to go fuck ourselves, we had an interview that we were able to use in perpetuity that we put up on the Jumbotron in Times Square.
Yeah.
So it was like a ultimate like checkmate. It's like we gave you guys the opportunity to do whatever you wanted. And you said no. And now we're taking your mom back to the place where she was still wearing makeup and had that different persona.
Right.
So now you've just taken your mom's persona back because you refused to do something. And it was hilarious because not only, and then they had it like, oh, Pam refused to interview, New York Post, Pam refused. It's like, well, she did, but she didn't. She asked for money.
Yeah.
She didn't refuse, she asked for money. There's a big difference between being like, no, I'm not doing this under any circumstances. It's how much.
If you're not going to work with Matt Felker, you're working against him, and you're just, where there's a will, there's a way. He's going to find a way to make it happen. Like he moved so many mountains.
Okay, so let's get a little into that. What's the girl, the athletic girl at the end?
Alexander Paul.
Yeah, I always remember that, she was on it, and she was very athletic, looked like a swimmer. She was a swimmer.
Yeah.
And I thought what she said was really cool in the doc, how she's like, everybody at that time was getting boob jobs, all the other girls, and she's like, and I was like, no, this is me, and she was really lovely in it. She was just like that. This was a reason why you should be yourself, and it made it real that you had the true athlete girl, and of course the other girls are like these hot things, not that she wasn't hot, but the booby, the big.
We
boobs.
had a question that didn't
Yes.
make it into the series, but it was a question that we asked everyone: who was like the most realistic lifeguard and who was the most unrealistic lifeguard?
Yeah.
And my answer was, unpopular opinion, Pamela Anderson.
Most unrealistic. Yeah.
No one has nails and boobs like that that's rescuing anyone.
Right.
I mean, it just looks great, not functional.
Yes.
Not a functional body type for being a lifeguard.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, any of the girls that had like the really big boobs, it's like gets in your way.
Yeah.
Even in an athletic standpoint, I mean, most girls I know that are athletes, if they have big boobs, they hate it and they try to like strap them down as.
I thought they were real.
No, they're not.
And then it was
Really?
with Nicole Eggert, who she came on Juicy Scoop a few years ago. I was telling you before we started, and I reached out to her because she was telling her story, her situation with Scott Baio, that she was underage, her story.
Yeah.
And they had a physical relationship when she was underage, according to her. And he said, no, whatever. He has said that's not true. But she came on and told the story about that. And it was kind of interesting how then she went from Charles in Charge to being on Baywatch. And then she just kind of bailed out and changed her looks, but kind of like downplayed her beauty with her change of hair and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is something that happens when girls are
sexualized,
sexually assaulted, whatever, where they're like, I don't want to be that anymore.
They don't want the attention.
And I thought that was really interesting because I didn't really remember that, because she was just only on like one season.
She was, and she did really disappear from the public eye.
Yeah.
For a while. I mean, I knew her just from being out like in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I met Nicole when you guys wrapped Hawaiian Wedding. I think she was dating Momoa at the time. That's the first time I met Jason Momoa.
I didn't even know that Jason Momoa got his start on. So was he on Baywatch Hawaii?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he actually.
Okay.
I don't think it was very clear in the documentary, like because my director's cut was very different from the studio cut.
Okay.
I wasn't in my cut. They made me be in. So any fucking reviewer or critic's like, why the fuck did that guy put it in? I didn't have a choice, so fuck off.
Okay.
Like, I didn't want to be on camera because I knew he'd be like, oh, the fucking guy wants to be a star. It's like, no, dude, they wanted me to go in because
to be like
I had so much time. I mean,
narrating the story.
What people don't realize is I have spent more time with these people than the cast have. Because these people were a revolving cast.
Right.
I spent 5 years with everyone. Some of these people never met each other other than like a reunion party for an hour and be like, oh, hey, you were on Hawaii. Cool. Cheers. And that's it.
I remember being, I used to go to Playboy parties, and I remember getting a call and being like, oh, you were invited to the mansion on Sunday, whatever. And it's a going away for Brandy Roderick.
Yeah.
To go be on Baywatch Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, I'm so happy that she's getting away from this old fart. Because I didn't know her, but I would just go to the parties, whatever. Yeah. And she was the new girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really nice that whatever their relationship was, that he was like, go ahead. Because when I watched the Playboy documentary, a lot of the girls wanted to be actresses and stuff. And their story was that he kind of cock blocked him, like ruined, like, you know, some girl was all excited to get the agent or the audition, and then all of a sudden the calls stopped because he was like, I don't want her on TV. Yeah. So at that point he was like, okay, great, go be on.
He got so
Hawaii.
old, his wiener stopped working.
Yeah, so go do Hawaii. So Hawaii Baywatch was on for a couple years, and that's where Jason.
Yeah, I don't think it was really clear in our cut, but he actually won a contest. It was like a contest to remember. I don't remember the late '90s, early 2000s. They would always do contests for everything.
Yes,
like the Structure underwear model do a contest and be like a bunch of ripped dudes like with his dick hanging up, like look at my abs, and they'd be like, you win, you have the biggest, that kind of thing.
Yes, and like Tropicana.
Right. It was these contests. It was
there were a lot of contests.
It was pre-social media where everyone could be famous. Like this is the chance for the normal person to be famous.
Got it.
Stand in line and maybe we'll pick you.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. But I mean, dude's 6'5" and super good looking. Of course they're going to fucking pick you.
Okay, so he was on it. And when they do the Hawaii reunion thing, what year was that?
Early 2000? 01 maybe?
01. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 01.
And who was getting married in it?
Hasselhoff and Gina?
I guess so.
Here's the best part about this documentary.
Gina Nolan.
And
like, there's a lot of things I don't actually know about the show because the show itself was not interesting to me.
Right, the stories were the worst.
The people, and it's what this sort of thing had a grip on society.
Yeah.
Internationally and domestically type thing.
Right.
So a lot of fans, I think, like the weird, like, super fans, like, dude, we really wanted to, like, go through all the actors, and when Billy was on episode so-and-so when the shark ate his butthole, and you're like, I'm like, dude, I'm not spending my own money to do that. If you want to do that, you go right ahead. But good luck fucking selling that anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's straight to YouTube, buddy.
What was great is that you went through the actors, and they, were talking about what it meant for their career, how they got it. And I mean, what was really like lovely about you in your struggle is the part that I could not believe is when you, I guess, relapsed and you ended up in the county jail. Yeah. And these cast members from years back, who were the three that came together to visit you? That I think I was blown away. I can't imagine.
I know.
In my life, me being in that situation.
Having people come from like a TV show you did 20 years ago.
Yeah, I really don't think so. And I thought that was really like end of a show like this that is so superficial and Playboy and looks that the friendship would continue all these years to the point that they're like, hey, our friend needs us.
Yeah.
So tell that story.
So they've been there for you forever, no matter what.
Absolutely. I did my wedding reception at David Hasselhoff's house. I've helped David Charvet with some training stuff, fitness stuff in the past. Alexandra Paul sent me protein powder to my rehab every month. She put me on a subscription plan for for 3 months. I got a tub of protein, which was like the cutest thing in the world. She came to visit me there. Nicole Eggert found the lawyer that got me the help that I needed. There was I went through 2 years.
Now, how did you end up in the jail?
So I was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, and
what was the story behind that?
I was looking at 7 years in prison.
Can you tell the story of what was going on?
So the story is basically, when you're a Hollywood, white boy in the San Fernando Valley doing drugs, selling drugs and hanging out with people who do drugs and sell drugs. You're hanging out with people who steal cars, who rob houses, who are prostitutes, who are homeless, this kind of thing, who are drug addicts. So,
and that's where you found yourself.
Yeah. And it wasn't until years later I realized, oh my gosh, I could have just told everybody, hey, I got a new project. I'm doing research for a movie. You're going to be in it. So they would kiss my butt. But they just assume that I have money and that I'm hiding stuff from them. And
who are these unsavory people?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I was I got robbed and carjacked and attempted kidnappings and, stuff like this a lot, where I'm fending for my life with
because you're like
guns in my face.
Because you're hanging out with the druggies.
Yeah.
But the druggies know that you're the kid from Baywatch.
And the druggies think that he's probably got a bunch of money and he's selfish and lying and using us.
Play on YouTube the theme song when you show up. This got cut too. I loved it.
Wait, what's the story?
My favorite buddy that was a drug dealer of mine, Bam Bam, rest in peace. He died of a fentanyl overdose about a year ago. But he would always, I'd call him, say, hey, I'm coming over to pick up, and he'd literally set up speakers and a TV, and as soon as I'd walk in, he'd play this You Can Run video that was on Baywatch.
It's like him as a little kid.
Yeah, and make fun of me. But these people...
To buy the drugs at this point.
Yeah.
And what year is this? That you're going to the guy's house and he's playing the music?
Yeah, I had been sober from 20 years old into my early 30s when I relapsed. I think it was probably 2013 or 14.
And how does
2014?
And how did your relapse happen once you'd been on the straight and narrow for 7 years?
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
Well, you get really busy and you think that paying attention to your recovery and following mentorship and helping other people and praying and meditating every day and keeping the horse in front of the cart, that it's not that important because you're really busy and you got jobs and you got responsibilities and you haven't drank or done drugs for 13 years. How am I going to go back, having a glass of wine in the jacuzzi in Maui with my fiance? Like, there's no way.
That was the moment?
Yeah.
So
like, how am I going to be a drug addict off a glass of wine in a jacuzzi?
So you're on the vacation.
Yeah.
And your fiance, I guess, hadn't had any issues with drug and alcohol?
Not that I knew.
So she was going to have her normal glass of wine.
Yeah.
And was she at all like, don't? Or was she thinking you were good?
We totally had a conversation about it. So I was like, hey, so check it out. Like, it's been so long. Maybe I was just like an angst kid,
right.
12 to 20. It's like there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of hormones. I was on TV. There was a lot of pressure. Like, we're doing great. Everything's smooth. We go to church every Sunday. I'm working, training people. We got a dog and a house and cars. And I highly doubt having a couple of glasses of wine with you is somehow going to demolish it all. But I'll make you a deal. If I drink and if I get out of hand or if I start acting different, just tell me. And then I'll stop and I'll, go back into some recovery program, or if I have to go to rehab, I'll go to rehab or whatever. I'll just stop. That was the thought. I'll just stop. And she never said stop. And I never remember a time where I was like, oh, I'm getting out of hand. I'm sure it happened. I just don't remember it. It's that idea.
Okay, so it started with wine, and then what happened?
Smoking a little bit of weed.
Okay.
Taking a little bit of Xanax to sleep good, maybe twice a week. And then maybe 10 milligrams of Adderall in the morning. I'm feeling, the doctor prescribed me 30. I'm only taking 10. I'm not a drug addict. I'm underdoing it. I'm definitely not overdoing it. So I feel enhanced. I feel like I'm getting better sleep, and I'm clearer in the day, and I'm able to relax on the weekend, smoke a joint, and have some wine.
Okay.
And our relationship went kaput, kablooey, and I found myself in a depression, just drinking myself in depression. And after about a month of that, I said, screw this, I'm going to get high, this
real high.
Booze isn't cutting it.
So where did you do then?
Want to hear something weird?
Yes.
My sobriety date was 9/24/2000.
Okay.
On 9/24/2000 was the first day I hadn't smoked meth, right? And I stuck to that date. The first day I smoked meth was 9/24/14. Guess what today is?
Oh.
9/24.
Kind of weird, right?
I got some meth in the car, dude.
And you do?
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
So
that's how you stay so trim?
meth was your thing.
Yeah. Crystal meth.
Yeah, and tell them how like you started with meth and like it was cocaine and you're like, fuck, meth is nasty. And
that's what always happens. You have a couple drinks, you're having fun, and you want to do a bump or something. You think it's no big deal, and you do a bump
of just regular cocaine.
And it's like, oh, I hate this stuff. It makes me really judgmental of others. It makes me really angry. I just irritable. Coke makes me real irritable. So
I'm that way without anything.
You want to get
I'm an asshole. Just
you want to get out of the irritation and do the thing that overhauls you, that hijacks you completely. But after a month in bed, being depressed like that and crying over my relationship's over, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So then I just got high. And literally as soon as I get high, I'm a real drug addict. I'm
professional.
I'm that one that won't leave it. And I forget, like the mice, I'll leave the booze, I'll leave the food, I'll leave the shelter, I'll leave the friends. I don't care about anything
all or
else.
Nothing.
Once I do it, I don't care about anything else. I can't force myself to care about anything else until the handcuffs are on and until.
But you know what's funny about Jeremy? My wife and I had this conversation. We came back from the premiere party where everyone was there, and we're like, "Do you realize that Jeremy, who is the most fucked up of anyone on that show, is the most together now?" And it's true. He is literally the most together of anyone on that show. And he should be dead.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Multiple times over. So,
okay, so you start doing it again. You start doing the meth.
And then automatically
going to the guy's house where he's playing the music.
Right. And, these guys, bam, bam. These drug addicts, they're driving around.
And now has the ex-fiance, contacted your mom and said, I have some really bad news, he's using it again?
Ex-fiance started hanging out with Dan Bilzerian and G-Eazy and Chris Brown just to rub it in my face.
Oh, she just
that was
moved
like
on to another celebrity type of crew.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's not calling your mom concerned.
Nope.
She just moved on to the next best thing.
She's making claims against me to the police and saying that all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
I'm just changing my address with the IRS and trying to get loans in my name because we're married. She's doing she's trying to screw me
she turned
extra.
into like a grifter.
Extra. Yeah, she tried to screw me extra. Really weird. Anyway.
Oh, jeez. But you never married her.
We were married, yeah.
Oh, you were married.
Yeah, we were married for 2 years, together for 4.
Oh.
And this is the one they always film homeless with no teeth. And they try to blame and they try to blame Jeremy for it, which always really irritates me because it's so not the case.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh, now the juicy scoop.
There you go. Now I got the scoop.
Oh my God.
Now she's wet. What was the term?
I've seen
Wet?
those posts before and I didn't really know.
Yeah.
But when I would see
and then there's all the
without
comments like,
knowing
Jeremy,
who
you piece
are,
of shit, you did that to her.
I was whenever I'd see those stories, I'm like, it's not your fault. Just like when someone's like, oh, this is the brother of this celebrity. I'm like, stop. No one's responsible for somebody as we're adults years later. So she moves on and is at the Dan Bilzerian parties and all this other stuff. And then she got addicted.
Yeah, I believe,
And now she's like a homeless person in Venice.
Toothless, homeless, hairless, broken, filthy.
Massive mental illness. Here's
that's
schizophrenia, here's voices, think she's going to electrocute people by touching them. I mean, it's like people don't understand the actual psychology. Drugs are one thing, but that's masking something else.
Yeah.
It's masking mental illness. It's part of it.
That's just something you do to survive out there. But there was something that drove her there, which, I was trying to hold together for both of us. I guess 2 broke people don't make a fixed person.
But you've tried to help her forever. That's why people are like, oh my God, you're
yeah.
Like, Jeremy, I can't believe you left her that way. And it's like how long ago was that now? Over a decade?
That we were together?
Yeah.
8 years? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how long,
I haven't seen her
people that
for 8
don't,
years.
I have tried to help homeless people before. They often don't want help. They are actually at peace with where they're at.
Yeah. Well, she's on record saying
hard.
that exactly. Hope everybody leaves me alone. I like where I'm at. I'm doing exactly what I want.
Yeah, she has said that. So, okay, so you're
still heartbreaking.
So you're using what happened? How'd you get in jail? How long are you going from just starting to do crystal meth again to the incident that put you in jail?
Within a year. It happens quick for me. Quick demise, maybe 6 months.
Wow.
So I defended myself against a armed gunman who was jacking me from a gang called CPA, Canoga Park, Alabama. Bigger than me.
Because of Alabama Street?
Yes.
Sounds
exactly.
like a cool T-shirt.
I know. Bigger than me, scarier than me, more sold out for the gang life. And And I defended myself. And I got a lot of credit for that. I got a lot of like, hey, don't mess with this guy for that. You know, so then these other people came and they stole my car. And I said, well, I know what I got to do. I got to find these people and I got to scare the shit out of them and I got to let them know I'm the guy you don't mess with. Because if I'm going to be out here, I'm going to continue to be taken advantage of, guns in my mouth, robbed, and stolen from. So I got to go get this car back. And there was a scuffle. There was 2 guys and a girl, and there was a scuffle, and people got injuries, and I'm the bad guy, you know, because I went after them to get my car back.
There's also a singular documentary here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, there was also the gunman that was on record tattling that I was the guy that stabbed him. There was also the claims.
Said Hobie stabbed me.
Yeah, there was also,
Hobie stabbed me.
Oh, because that's your character name.
You're right.
Oh my
And
God.
then there was
Hobie stabbed me.
Also the claims made by my, you know, sadly slipping from sanity wife. So the judge, the DA is like, oh, wait a minute. We got this blonde damsel in distress. We got this. He stabbed this guy almost to death. And now this, we're putting his ass away. So I was looking at at least 7 years in prison.
Really?
Scared shitless. Both lawyers that I had reached out to said, this is the best it's ever going to get. The other guy said, we can do an insanity plea so you can at least do your 7 years like in a mental health style jail rather than normal jail. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was in jail for 4 months, like trying to fight this thing. That's when everybody came to visit me. And Nicole, you know, like she said in the documentary,
Nicole
she said,
Eggert, yeah.
she said, no, I'm going to call people. And she started calling people and she found me a lawyer that got me
Who was the lawyer?
A year in jail. Alalay Cameron.
Okay.
Alalay Cameron, she got me a year instead of 7. And I had to go to, I went to rehab
So
for like
you had to
6
go to
months.
prison for 1 year.
Jail, luckily, which allowed me to get my strike removed, so I'm
And
not
why?
a violent
So jail
felon.
is nicer than prison?
Well, if you go to prison, you can't have your strike removed for like an aggressive crime.
Oh, okay.
So
Meaning the 3-strike law.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So now the strike's removed. The felony was reduced to a misdemeanor instead of being a felony. It was a miracle.
Did you have a
deal.
roommate in the jail, or did you have your own cell?
Oh no, I had roommates. They asked me when I went to jail. I'm standing in the line and to go through the X-ray machine, and they go 79450 back of the line. I'm just like sitting there, and some dudes are like, dude, that's you. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh crap. So I get out the back of the line and we go for another 30 minutes. 79144 back of the line. I'm like, that's me again. And they just kept putting me at the back of the line until there was nobody else coming in. The doors were closed. And I'm the last person through the X-ray machine. And they go, dude, come here. And I turn a computer screen. And they go, is this you? And they pull up some Baywatch stuff. And I go, yeah. By the way, I have no tooth. I literally look like Charlie Manson. Like I really did.
Yeah.
And they go, is this you? They go, do you need like protective custody? You know, which is where you go hang out with the child molesters and the snitches and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no. And don't do this to me. Like, don't. Like,
Single me out. Don't
now I'm going to walk in there. They're going to wonder if I'm some kind of informant or something. You're making like my life in danger. Like, please ignore me.
Tell nobody anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a funny deal. But,
So then what happened?
I did my time.
So was it doable? Like, did they make it kind of okay? Or was it, were you
it's
scared
doable.
every day?
I got in a couple fights. I got a concussion. I was puking
God,
for a
that's
couple
horrible.
days. I mean,
The kid's fucking scary. Like I remember, I knew of Jeremy, and I was like, I don't want to fuck with that guy.
I've been doing
we were
jiu-jitsu for
actually
10
doing
years.
triathlons at the same time, and I would see him like training, and I'd be like, that dude's fucking pretty ripped, and I was like sort of competing with him at far,
my
but I knew his
secret
history. I'm like, I'm not
competition.
gonna fuck with that guy. Like he was when I first met him, I was like, I didn't know if I loved the guy or was like absolutely terrified of him. It was like this really weird, because all you do is you hear things.
Yeah.
You hear, and I remember I had a friend when I first moved to LA whose mom was a casting director. And she would just be like, oh, that's the kid from Baywatch that does meth. Like, that's, like, what you were told.
Really?
And meth is, like, the worst drug,
Yeah.
to your mind.
I'm
type
definitely a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. When I'm on the right path, I'm the best friend you ever had. And when I'm on the wrong path, steer
So
clear,
he was
hide the
terrifying
women and children.
when I first met him. But then I kind of got to know him, and I just realized how honest and kind of open he was and what just a great human being he is.
Takes what it takes.
He's probably terrible. I've never met him on meth, which is probably not a good one to meet. But
And so what is like, what have you been doing now? Obviously, you worked on this, but like, what else is going on in your life professionally and personally?
Yeah, so I have a men's retreat in Costa Rica we do every 2.5 months. It's called the Balanced Man Retreat, freedom through discipline, stoicism, meditations, overcoming fears, community, interconnection. We do a lot of waterfall hikes and shooting bow and arrows and surf and, helping people catch their first wave ever. But really, it's a paradise out there, first and foremost, but coming together just as men and helping, moms get better sons back and sons get better dads back and employers get better employees back or employees get better bosses back, sending men back out into the world a better version of themselves, So that's a beautiful thing. I run a company called Energy Wellness Group in Orange County. We facilitate over 46 therapeutic wellness groups in rehabilitation centers and mental health facilities and detoxes. So every day we're out there meditating with people, loving on people, tuning their chakras or teaching the power through constructive thinking and goal setting and helping them win their day, and survive.
In talking about your story of like having the one glass of wine after all those years and the rats and everything, very fascinating. Because I have spoken on this. I really have no right to speak on it. In fact, because I am not a therapist, I haven't studied it. But I have said, like, there are people that feel like AA doesn't work and that there are other methods, or maybe it was your thing was cocaine and therefore a couple of years later you can have a beer here and there. And I've said that and I've gotten people like angry with me that I've even said that. And
everybody's
I'm like,
got an opinion.
I don't know, because I've never had to give it up for any other reason except, I'm taping something in 3 days and I want to like look a little thinner and better.
Sure.
I've been very lucky. I do have alcoholics and stuff within my family. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was like, oh my God, I enjoy it so much and I like it so much. And I like the glassware. I like all the stuff. So I think like respected it to a level where I didn't ever have to like end up in promises.
Yeah.
But then there was always that part that was like, I wonder if I would like going to promises.
I was there. I told you I used to visit Britney Spears there.
Okay, tell us about that.
This is actually a great segue. So, I did that video in 2004, the Toxic video, and that was like
you're like one of the dancers or the boyfriend.
I'm the dude she makes out with in the airplane.
Oh, okay.
So it's me, Tyson Beckford, and Martin Henderson. I think.
Okay.
Was the actor, and so we met, and I think she was like interested. And I was like, that's a little scary for me, like not my thing. And she was not like kind of what she is today, but she had like a very different personality than I think the public persona was.
But this is before the shaved head.
Really close.
Okay.
And so we, I think she went off and married Kevin Federline around then. And I was friends with her manager, so I would like see Larry and like whatever, and then I was dating an actress, and she ended up going to promises, and this is around the same time.
The actress that you're dating?
Yes.
Okay.
This is around the same time that Britney was, shaved the head and did the whole thing, and I think she was separated from Kevin at the time. So she ends up being fucking Britney's roommate at promises. So here I am visiting my girlfriend, and she's like, hi, and she's like pumping her breasts for her children at the time.
The babies, yeah.
And I'm like, what? I think I'm like 26, 27. I'm like, what fucking reality do I live in right now? And there's like all these other actors there, and I won't say their names because I don't think it's ever been public that they were actually there. But it was like the Vanity Fair fucking party of like, we're up there. I'm visiting my girlfriend with the writer of like 10 Things I Hate About You, Karen, and then she was the head of Vanity Fair, and now she's got a big job at Netflix. I'm like sitting there like, what the fuck? Britney's got her bobbed wig and breast pumping in the corner, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So anyways, I had spent some time with her there, and years later, Larry ran into me, and I had broken up with my girlfriend that I was with when she was their roommates. And Larry's like, hey, do you want to like Britney's having a barbecue at her house, and she lived up on like Mulholland Estates. It's funny, I saved actually the little pass you get when you go in there because I just thought it was so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I found it when I moved recently. I'm like, oh, this is the pass type thing. And so I go up there thinking I'm going to a barbecue, and it's just me and her. Like I got like trapped.
Oh,
and
What year is
gosh.
this around?
12, probably 2012. It's probably the last time I actually spoke to her and stuff. And it was so awkward. She probably thinks I'm gay because like I just like there was obviously I think she probably wanted to hook up, but I just was like so weird about it.
Yeah.
I just left. I just fucking left. And there was like a garage door opener they gave me that like it opened all the gates, and she just gave it to me, which is probably a security breach when you're Britney Spears type thing. So
Yeah.
I got out, and like her bodyguard, who I'd known for years, I think it was Rob at the time, he's like, "See you later." And I go, "Do you need this?" He goes, "She gave that to you?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, let me take that. And I don't think I ever heard from her again after that. And that was it. That was it. And I remember she had to go film How I Met Your Mother the next day. So that would be the date.
And
like she was filming the
what
next
was
day.
crazy is she killed it in those sitcoms.
She was awesome.
She was great.
She's awesome.
What do you think about now when you see her Instagram post book?
Well, I'll just put it out there because ABC has been pushing me to try to get a Britney Spears interview because they think like an actual reporter like a Diane Sawyer or something like that, it wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. They want someone unconventional like me. So they're like, if you can facilitate that. So we would love to facilitate an interview with her where she controls the interview top to bottom.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had any contact with her in like over a decade. So it's like, things happen in people's lives. You know, there's obviously a lot that happens in a decade. I'm not the same person I was when I saw her in rehab in 2010, and I can't imagine she's the same person. My own personal thing is I think people reach a breaking point when you're in the public eye like that for so long. And I think even when I knew her years and years and years and years ago, her reality is so different from our reality. Her reality is so different from almost other celebrities because she, from a very, very young age, is the earner and the boss to adults, which totally fucks because when you're a child, the adult is the person in power. It's the person you respect. But when you're, 18 years old and you're paying for 25 people's salary and you realize that, then it's like, well, why are you telling me to do what I want to do? Like, I think she's at a point where, and the whole Free Britney thing, I don't know if that was a good or bad thing. It's really not my place to say. But I think she was just fucking tired of being controlled by everyone and tired of being the moneymaker. And if I want to dance in my room all fucking day long and put it on social media, again, her reality is not our reality. She's not really probably paying attention. People are like, oh my God, she looks crazy. Did you see her dancing with knives?
Well, there's no comments also. She has no comments. So she just sees the likes and the views.
She doesn't give a fuck.
So, yeah.
And that is sort of beautiful in its own way because someone like her is always judged from what she looks like to what she's doing. Oh, her teeth look different. Oh, this, that. Like no one, and that was sort of even coming back to the Baywatch actors.
Speaking of the teeth, though, I want to say.
Yeah.
Because that is something that, conspiracy theories were like, it's not her or whatever. I think it's always been her.
She took a fucking retainer out.
But I think the teeth moved.
It's just retainer. She probably had a wire.
But some people say the teeth could be meth.
Are they filed way down, or they crooked?
They're not filed. They
just have spaces.
They just have spaces, but they still are like white and like look okay. They're just not together.
I feel it's either you have bonds or you had a wire because a lot of people have a wire in their bottom or upper teeth that keep them together forever. Yeah. And she probably just doesn't. She doesn't give a fuck.
If you're a little kid and you have spaces and you get braces to put your teeth together, and then you don't wear your retainer to keep them there, they'll spread back up.
Also, too, if you look at like pretty actors, even male ones, they get tired of being told they're pretty.
Yeah.
And the most beautiful people often rebel against being beautiful.
That's why I have the beard. I'm tired of being
it's just, you don't give a fuck. Like, you look at Jared Leto in his younger career, the dude is like as pretty as a woman, but he would always fight it. Like Fight Club, he plays this weird guy that gets the shit kicked out of him that has bleached blonde hair. He would always have choices to play against type. And I think people like Britney Spears, they've just been so sexualized their whole lives that, you know what, fuck it, I got space between my teeth. If I want to fix it, I can fix it. And if I don't, who cares?
And how do you explain
I have a couple more questions before I forget. There's a part in the show where on your 16th birthday, they present you with this car that
A rocket ship. Did you see that thing?
So was it a real car?
And it's, you know, in the recovery program, you got to work on these resentments, right? And I think this one I just can't let go of, man. So David Hasselhoff gives me this supercar on my 16th birthday. Yes.
So it's like a red convertible?
Yeah, E! Entertainment come down to cover it.
Yeah.
And it gives me a giant, you know, gift box with a smaller box inside, with a smaller box inside, with a smaller box inside, until I get down to this little box.
Yeah.
And just drew it out on E! Entertainment. Look at David Hasselhoff, such a caring guy, such a loving guy. Here's this car for my 16th birthday of my TV son. I'm the best dad, and I never got the car. I'm still waiting for the.
So you took a photo with it, and then what? The key didn't
video.
work?
They did a whole segment on it on ET.
But where did the car go after the cameras
ask
left?
David, man. I just never got it.
But when they did the whole thing, then you were like,
They raffled it off.
The story goes.
Then did you go, oh, well, can I drive it home? And they're like, what?
The story goes, they wanted to build me a custom one that was a little safer than that one that had a roll bar in it.
Oh, okay.
And then the company went bankrupt before they finished the car, and we never got the car.
Oh.
But, you know, is that an excuse not to get me some other car?
Yeah.
I didn't get my driver's license till I was 24. That's how long I waited for David Hasselhoff to give me a freaking car. I swear, hand to God.
The other thing I was going to ask is, let me just get your guys' opinion on everything that's happening with P. Diddy and Justin Bieber, because
all I see is dildos and baby oil. That's all that's dominated the news cycle.
What is it, baby oil?
Baby oil and dildos.
It's baby oil?
784 dildos.
I saw all the oil, but
balls.
the oil looked a little yellow, and baby oil's clear. I'm very curious as to what kind of
I don't
oil.
know that we've actually seen a bottle of the actual what brand it was, but that's what was in the report.
All the guys that went down, you know, me coming here in the early 2000s at like 20 years old, we knew those guys were bad. Like everyone knew. You know, Russell Simmons went down. Everyone knew.
So
everyone knew that P. Diddy was doing shit. Like maybe not to the extent, but you knew that there was bad shit going on.
With women and men, because you being in the modeling industry.
Yes, there's always the rumors of, oh, so-and-so's gay, so-and-so's gay, this actor's gay. And then, you know, that was at the time where you had like, you know, gay bookers and stuff like that, where they would just say everyone was gay. You're like, oh, well, they say everybody's gay. So you don't really believe it. But I mean, those rumors, everyone knew. I mean, everyone knew what you were getting into with Harvey Weinstein if you got invited. Like, no one didn't know. It was just unsaid. And these people were making money for the industry. So, you know, the industry normally hides these people till they can't any longer. And then when they can't any longer, you get eaten quickly.
Right.
But I mean, if some random fucking kid from Wisconsin knows danger, 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 trust me, people a little bit higher up in the industry know as well.
So as a good-looking young model, male, though you're straight, were you invited to parties?
I used to get invited. I mean, I was talking to my wife the other night, and like we were actually talking about the P. Diddy thing, and I was like, again, like just being fucking stupid, like with my movie. Like I have been so close to really bad shit happening and being completely oblivious that it was even there. Like, you know, you go to these parties, and because I was sort of innocent, I never did drugs, I never really drank. I was sort of like the fly on the wall that liked to see everything, but I wanted to be in control all the time. But I mean, really sketchy shit. Like I used to cater when I didn't have any money. When I first moved here, I used to cater for a company, and they used to send me to not just cater, I'd do like the door for like these real sort of high profile, like gay men, and do the door and stuff.
What do you mean do the door?
Like basically just be the guy at the front, be like, oh, you can come in, you can come in, you can come in, like with a clipboard of like names.
Oh, okay, got it.
And really everyone can come in, they just want you standing up front.
Right.
So the
looks
party
exclusive.
looks good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But some of the shit that ended up going down at those parties, because I would just do my thing, I'd take my money and I'd go home. But like if you stayed a little later, that's when the bad shit happened. And yeah, I mean, I have been that close to, you know, sort of like a Diddy type experience with numerous high profile people, but just actually not realizing it's happening until years later when they go down for something else. You're like, oh.
Can you explain like a little bit of like where you didn't really realize like that you were, you know, in this position, or that you were being like secretly propositioned and you just were like too naive to see it?
Yeah, I did a funny, like this is 20 years before I even lived in Malibu. I was to do a party for a really high music executive. And his friend, who was a big music manager who died, very well-known, openly gay, powerful men. And yeah, that party was fucking yuck. like gross. But I saw it sort of start to happen, but I'm just like, these are just gay guys, you know, they like men and like whatever, I don't. So I'm going to go home and they're going to do their thing. No judgment. Like, it is what it is. But then the non-consensual, like, if you want to do weird shit and it's two consensual adults,
who cares?
It's not my business. But when it's underage.
And you saw some of that.
Yeah. And it's like, and I don't know how underage these people were, but they definitely were like bridging 18, and these men were, you know, 70, 60s, which is weird. And, you know, I used to see it with it's straight guys too. You know, same thing. It's just, we were not, I think by mid-2000s we're a little bit more aware, but I think early 2000s, I think even like with, you know, Nicole and the Scott situation, you know, it was technically probably consensual, but Nicole's underage. That's the problem.
Right.
But Scott's generation, that was happening all the time. I mean, if you look at like, I've seen like online, they put like performers like Mick Jagger dated a 14-year-old when he was 30, and
Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley had, like, it was
Jerry Lee Lewis.
It's not correct, but it was somehow accepted. And I think, you know, there's the generation, as things change, they don't.
Right.
And they're like, what do you mean? I was dating a 14-year-old when I was 20. No one gave a shit. It was fine, you know.
Right.
But it's not. It's just that people used to turn a blind eye to it, and they don't anymore. And I think even in the early 2000s, you're aware that it's wrong, but you're like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just how Hollywood is. That's just what it is. That's just what you do.
Right.
Because I even remember there were photographers that you know we worked with that I never had an issue with, that got Me Too'd and canceled. Some of the best photographers in the world. They were incredible, super respectful. But if you were a straight guy and you were willing to do whatever it took to get the cover or like get the campaign or whatever, it could maybe happen. That's probably why I wasn't very successful. But you know, you didn't
same thing.
Didn't polish enough knobs. You know,
same
it's just
thing with the girls.
Yeah,
you know,
and
I'm like, I look at like some other people that I came up with that were funny women too, and they had, you know, boyfriends and things that helped, were powerful, or write them into things and stuff, and I just never. That just wasn't the path I had.
No, and I don't even fault the people that do, because I think a lot of the people that do, they are in the relationship, and in their mind, they like this person for that amount of time, and they're helping them go to the next level and whatever. If it's consensual and you're two adults, I don't care.
Right.
There can be a 40-year age gap. You're still adults. You know, it is what it is type thing. But I just think that Hollywood for the longest time sort of just got away with the hall pass and be like, well, that's just how it is. Like if you want to work with this guy, then just kind of how it is. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. But if you do a little extra, you're probably going to do better type thing.
I think the thing that always bothers me about sexual harassment, you know, from the most innocent level to the worst in Hollywood, is not the people that play along and it helps. It's the people that maybe didn't play along, and then you're like blackballed, and they hit on you, and they are afraid that now you're going to share that story. So they're going to make sure you're never in a room of powerful people to share the story. That's the part that pisses me off the most.
Yeah, but when someone hit on you, I'm always flattered. Gay or straight, you know?
Well,
it's always like, oh, that's nice. I'm just, not for me, but thanks.
Right,
you know?
Right. But there's been cases where it's like with, you know, Louis C.K. jacking off in front of women that didn't ask to be jacked off in front of. And
that's a little awkward.
And I think,
I really liked him too, and that gave me I'm like, God, he's such a smart comic, and seeing the
thing that pissed me off most about that whole thing is that the girls that, you know, that it happened to after this comedy festival thing, and they were like, they were literally like, is this a joke? And then it's happening, and they had each other and they left. It was like they could not get a job after that as comedy writers. And I was like, that's because
he was afraid what you saw.
Yeah, he was like, I don't want these girls telling the story of what a creep I was, because he realized they weren't happy about it, and they weren't really participatory and cool with it. So then he was like, oh, I misjudged that one. Let's make sure this story never gets out. And that's what bothers me the most about Hey, if you sleep with the person willingly and get the part and then go, great, I never have to sleep with another gross person again because now everyone sees my talent and off we go.
Yeah.
Fine, use your sexuality. Use it as long as you chose to use it.
They realize it is a powerful thing. I mean, I don't know. I just there are things, there's things that I've seen that, you could say and you could probably really hurt someone's, credibility or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's like, why hold on to it? It happened. There's no reason to hurt someone because they hurt you 30 years ago type thing. I always find out that any of these people that are, quote unquote bad people, it always comes to the surface. It's just, it may not be your story because trust me, if they did it to you, they did it to 5 other people. And strength in numbers, that one of the 5 is going to come forward. And if you get a Me Too moment, all 5 are going to come forward. Maybe 25 will come forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Any stories I tell, whether it be Britney in rehab or stuff like that, those are not damning stories. I mean, everyone knows that she was there. I just happened to be there, which I thought was bizarre.
Yeah.
Would you guys be okay with me jacking off in front of you right now? I'm just thinking about what kind of mind enjoys jacking off in front of people that don't want to be jacked off in front of.
I don't know. People
that's
are
sad.
weird.
Think about it.
It's a weird power thing. Who knows? Well, listen. On that note,
on publicly masturbation,
it wasn't enough. That wasn't enough.
After Baywatch, 4 episodes on Hulu now. You can stream it. Is there anything else? Where can people follow you? What do you have coming up?
To be honest with you, I'm at a stage where I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing next. If anything. I mean, I may just fuck around and be a dad in Malibu and have some kids and call it a day because I overworked myself for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Jeremy's got his retreats. You can follow him on social
I love
media.
that.
Jeremy Jackson Fitness. I just created Instagram because of this. I didn't have Instagram prior to this, so I have one, but it's not worth following.
I thought I was going to get rich making a documentary about the guy who lost $4 million on a Baywatch documentary.
Yeah, I mean, there's not.
I'm like almost bummed it's doing so well because I was like, dude, that's the documentary.
Yeah,
You're eating out of trash cans.
He's like, dude, you're going to lose your house.
What in the world made you think that this cheesy show was going to do well?
I do appreciate you kind of explaining because, until there was streaming, I never really saw a lot of documentaries. There'd be a documentary like Oscar thing, and I'd be sitting at home as a 15-year-old. I'm like, where do people even watch these documentaries? Whatever. Now we all watch them. Now we're all experts on them.
There's a lot of value to them.
But so many times I'd be watching, them, and they'd be going on for years and years and years, and I would wonder, who is paying for this? Where is this person staying at the hotel? How are they following? How are they capturing
that's what
all this?
I think the actors didn't realize because they just thought it was. I'm like, guys, who the fuck do you think? Every time I roll a camera, it's like at least $5. It's between $5,000 and $30,000. If it's Carmen Electra who has like hair and makeup team, you're not paying her, but you have to pay for her deal. And I go, where do you think like the money comes from? You think it just falls from the fucking sky? Like we can't fuck these up. Like if you want to do this interview, I need to know what the story is, and you need to be on today because we're not doing it again.
Right.
So I don't think people realize that these things are labors of love, and even though Baywatch is a commercial, probably safer subject, no one's getting rich doing these things.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting rich. I mean, we heard like. One of my friends overheard at the wrap party, or not wrap party, the premiere party, of how much I sold this for. And it was some like ridiculous fucking number.
So it wasn't correct.
And I was like, that would be fucking great.
Yeah.
But no, not even close. Like put a minus in front of it,
Yeah.
But I probably could have made a little bit of a profit on this if I would have done a different route and sold the territory rather than all world. But or
if you would have talked trash on everybody.
Well, no, not that. I don't think that would have enhanced it. I just think I wanted the actors to get the bang for their buck, and I wanted myself to get my bang for the buck. I mean, they put in a couple $1 million of print advertising for this, which you don't really get in documentary.
Yeah,
and they were really behind this, and they really promoted it, and Disney was the best deal for everybody. Maybe not financially, but if you're going into documentary to make money, you're going into the wrong business to start with.
Right.
But to be able to sell a product, not only a 90-minute movie, but to be able to sell a self-funded 4-part series that had 0 distributor and 0 pre-sale from the beginning to someone that's never done this before, who sold it by himself to Disney, it's like a lottery ticket. I mean, it's like it's my friends that are in the film business, the big agents, like, oh, dude, we should do this documentary. I go, my business model is the worst fucking business model you could ever like. It doesn't work. Like it's literally just because I wouldn't stop, and because people kept trying to push me, I just said, fuck it. Like there's no way we're gonna fail with this. I just refused to fail.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Muriel Pearson at ABC News, who I had met just doing a free interview, I don't think we would have had a deal.
We love you, Muriel.
I don't think we'd have a deal.
Well, this has been awesome. Everybody watch it. It's really interesting. And it's really a cool piece of pop culture history, TV history. So I think, it'll be interesting to watch if you're not overly aware of it. It's,
and you don't even have to like Baywatch to watch it. There's a lot of human interest stories
that's
in it.
What I'm saying.
It's very universal.
And kind of like this, just a Hollywood story, basically. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.